India is grappling with increasing number of cases of COVID-19, and we are world leaders in the highest daily count. Are we supposed to be proud of it? While hospitals are continuously evolving and making our facility world class, time has come where citizens too take this invisible enemy seriously and follow government regulations. The unprecedented calamity due to COVID 19 has not only shaken the world, but also created a flutter amongst the healthcare institutions. Bhaktivedanta Hospital has been closely working with various municipal corporations like Palghar, Thane, and Mira Bhayandar Municipal Corporation. A lockdown to curb the spread of the virus was announced in the region in March 2020, and the hospital was proactive in designing an action plan along with the help of the municipal commissioner and other stakeholders, private and municipal hospitals. The hospital facilitated setting up the first exclusive COVID facility at Temba Hospital, Bhayandar, with 100 beds and 20 ICU beds. The team members of the hospital worked along with private doctors and government officials to have this setup ready. A dedicated 90-bed ICU was also launched with an ICU by the Bhaktivedanta Hospital at PV Doshi Hospital, Mira Road. So as the numbers are increasing, the warriors have to be fit and fine and mentally strong. So I would like to welcome Dr. Ajay Sankhe to be a part of this launch. Thank you, doctor, for joining us. And thank you, Bhaktivedanta Hospital. Now I would quickly introduce you to Avantika. Hi, Avantika.
Hello.
Avantika Khatri is an actress, film director, and producer with 10 years of experience in the Indian film industry. She debuted with the movie War Chodna Yaar, where she played the parallel lead along with our favorite Soha Ali Khan, Sarman Joshi, and the epic Javed Jafri. She has been the face of many national and international brands like Rasna, BlackBerry, Z10, Here Home Appliances, Aircel, Godrej, the Election Commission of India, Metropolis Labs, and many more. She has produced a film titled Beautiful World. She was based on which was based on the 2016 gang rape incident which happened in Bullaneshwar, starring Amruta, Subhash, Swanand Kirkire, and Shweta Tripathi, and the most talked about Anurag Kashyap. Avantika Khatri has done an album as well, along with my favorite singer Mika Singh, called Bottoms Up. Her second short film, For All That You Are, as a producer and her debut directorial, also had Avantika playing the protagonist, and she's won the Best LGBTQ Film Awards, Best Short Film, Best Woman Filmmaker, Best Actress awards in various international film festivals across the globe. So I would like to welcome you, Avantika, for this book launch. On behalf of Roshan, Dr. Sankhe, and Dr. Save, I would like to thank you for your time. Now,
Thank you so much.
most welcome. Now we move to Roshan Shetty. Hi, Roshan. Can you wave me, please? Hi, Roshan. Yes. So Roshan is the guy who's the reason why we are here all together during COVID. We are locked down, but we are still managing to have this book launch. Roshan has been in the Indian corporate landscape for last 17 years. He has worked with some of the biggest corporates where his expertise spans across project management, service excellence, and CRM solutions. His journey in the corporate sector has been highly rewarding and fruitful. Apart from his stint in the corporate world, Roshan is also a blogger and podcaster, writing and speaking on the undercurrents that control our lives in the 21st century, touching upon aspects of popular societal dogmas and human behavior at large. Roshan resides in the very heart of Mumbai city and is a true ambassador of the city's vibrance and positioning on the global map. Sorry. So Roshan holds a master's degree in marketing from the Wellington Institute of Management Research and Development and a bachelor's degree in computer science from the SIS College of Arts, Science and Commerce, and his schooling done from Holy Cross High School, Mumbai. So Roshan, let's take this ahead, and we will get into a small interaction like coffee with Roshan, and certainly many more cups will be served across to Dr. Sankhe, Dr. Save, and Avantika. So let's quickly talk about the current situation and let's understand from Dr. Sankhe on the current COVID situation that's happening in the area. Over to you, Dr. Sankhe.
Okay, so thank you, Ganesh. And from that side, my pranams to Avantika ji, here, Dr. Save, Roshan, and his wife is sitting here, Smita. So thank you for being here, and I'm very honored to be amongst all of you. Regarding the COVID situation in our area in whole of Maharashtra and Mumbai region, yes, we are, uh, in one sense, we are able to treat the patients better now, and we are much wiser than when we started. We have better facilities available. These are all factual things. Our doubling rates have gone to 60, 70, 80 days, so that these are all good signs, 90 days. But at the same time, the sheer numbers which are there, almost a lakh per day, is huge. And naturally, when so many patients are affected, now what we are finding is it's not the unavailability of the beds or anything, it's the unavailability of the critical beds. That's the situation at present. And the lockdown has been unduly, like, it's just getting prolonged. Even though unlocking has started, Maharashtra still has a lot of restrictions. And with all this lockdown process on, I'm just bringing it to the context of this books publishing today or launching today, that the apart from the financial or economical impact and the health impact, there is a huge impact on the emotions of people, huge impact. And I'm very happy that our team at Bhaktivedanta Hospital, from day one when we started the Temba Hospital, we had included the psychological care through our team who would counsel the patients on phone. We had a call center which was set up in the hospital, and patients were counseled. So that was actually a key point in our very good recovery rate and less death rate. But of course, that has now sort of become necessity in every hospital to give psychological support. For example, just maybe about 2 weeks back, one patient who was COVID positive, young man, doing very well. Generally, young people do not suffer so much. But when he was told that he is being shifted from a primary COVID healthcare center to a higher COVID health center, which is called as TCH technically, dedicated COVID hospital, where basically a critical type of patients are treated. Like we are a TCH. Immediately, without wasting any time, he just took it upon himself that this is my end of life. And before actually he would die about with corona, he committed suicide. So this is the kind of, this is from Vikramgarh. This is one of the talukas in Palghar district, where that's our outreach area. And not only that, there are many people who have gone through this. Dr. Save is here, he can tell us that today the need is like his OPD is the maximum full all the time. Even normal physicians or pediatricians, we are treating patients who are not actually physically ill, but psychologically ill. So that's the scenario, and in that scenario, Roshan is bringing out this book. That's very nice. And apart from that, we can see the international scenario also. That I heard that Wuhan, where the whole thing started, the people are, because of the lockdown, when people started staying together, just staying together, increased the applications for divorce by 25%. So these are the situations which are reality. Children are suffering from, sort of psychological hyperventilation. I get children who are, they look hyper breathless. They come to, yeah, they come to breathlessness. And when I see them, they are completely normal. So then I start talking to them. I tell them, don't worry, Corona is your friend, children. He loves children and he doesn't do any harm to children. So immediately the children are pacified. They know, okay, I'm safe. So this is the scenario which is going on, and of course, from a technical medical point of view, right now what we need is not just the number of beds, but number of ICU and intermediate care unit beds, and also a huge number of trained manpower. That's the reality of today's corona situation. Now, coming back to the possibility of this book, I don't know, I have not read the book completely, but I have read some passages which have been sent to me. I think this is a very good attempt by Roshan to bring out this aspect of how we use mind as a tool or some techniques by which we need not get into that negative emotion and spoil our life. And that is very much necessary because the bombardment from the social media, hundreds of channels of collecting information, and generally the information is much more negative than what is supposed to be. It is like exaggerated negativity. Exaggerated negativity. That's the one word I would use. And in that scenario, uh, this think left, the book would be definitely shift left. Sorry, shift left. So shift your focus to left. So left brain, which identifies emotions like happiness and all. So that's a very good attempt. Next book I want him to write is on little next. That is shift left, not shift right or left, but shift upwards. That means that means see the whole emotional thing. When we talk of emotions, it is generally dependent on somebody else, either a person or a situation or a time. These are the things which affect our emotion. But there is a state of emotion which is not dependent on any other thing. It is independent of every other thing which is around. And that state in the Gita and other places is called as Atmaram state. Atmaram means he is self-satisfied. He has no need of anyone, Roshan or Smita or Sare, to pull in or put in something to create that emotion. It's just a self-satisfied. And that person becomes like a generator of positivity and positive emotions, which Tukaram described. You are Maharashtrians will know. And Avghaji samsara sukhaja karina. That is, he talks about I can make the whole world happy. Why? Because he is Atmara. Inside there is tremendous happiness. So maybe that is the book we should write next. So with this word I will stop. The next program should go on. Thank you, Ganesh.
Thank you. So now we'll move towards the left-hand side of Dr. Sankey, and we'll invite Dr. Save to share his views. So apparently he's the head of the psychiatrics division. And, yes, and he's witnessing a lot of anxiety around him, and he's meeting patients, youngsters, millennials, and so on and so forth. So Dr. Save, can you quickly highlight some of your experiences with us, please?
My experience about, see, today we are in this COVID scenario, so let's start talking about COVID scenario. Just recently, few days back, there was a news article which said that 1 out of 2 person in this world is now COVID anxious.
Okay.
So that brings us to a few billion people who are COVID anxious. That also brings us to a few billion people who are not anxious about COVID. That's a good part. But for so many people to become anxious because of COVID is not because this ailment has come in, but also because of the pre to it, that how our mindset had already got to the brink, and now maybe this is just pushing it into that situation. How the economic situations have also influenced that person, and most importantly, how the social influence has influenced that person's mind.
Okay.
Mind is like a clean slate. whatever is written on it, it believes that. At the end of it, it has to write that with its own hands. But today, when I was speaking with Roshan and we were discussing things just prior to this, what is to be written on your own mind is made to be felt by you that it is been written by your own hands, but it is entirely influenced by somebody else.
True.
And that influence can make you feel happy also at times, can make you feel jealous also at times, make you feel anxious about tomorrow also at times, get yourself influenced by the system at times, but it is affecting our mental health. And this particular aspect is not being done at an individual. We don't have that much of manpower to do it 1:1. It's being done by what is called as artificial intelligence. And the funniest part of this entire thing is that artificial intelligence does not understand emotions the way a human being understands emotions. But still, it can stimulate emotions in another human being.
Okay.
So AI is devoid of emotions for himself. So he's not going to feel bad if he makes you feel bad. But he has the capacity to make you feel bad, feel good, feel troubled, feel bad about somebody who may not be that bad also. Feel good about somebody who may not be that good also. And unfortunately, these influences are affecting our life so much and so many other things. The necessities of life have changed. The wants have reached from one point to another. And it's all a pressure. It's a pressure on a 5-year-old, it's a pressure on 15-year-old, it's a pressure on 65-year-old also today.
True.
My 83-year-old mother is highly influenced by social media.
Oh,
In
is
fact, yeah. Now, when I was to purchase the latest phone called off, so that poor lady, with all her understanding, came to me and told me, buy me a phone in which there would be Facebook, WhatsApp, and YouTube. So handle Google. So she doesn't know that the phone, these things are there, but she thought that this particular kind of phone comes.
So how did you handle with that? How did you explain it to her?
No, I didn't explain anything. I said I'll get this plus extra things for you. It will have Ghana.com also, and it will have many other applications also. So, but she's a person who is so influenced by social media that now her views are formed on basis of that. And many a times I get sermons on medicine and how to treat patients with regards to psychiatry, COVID, cancers, and everything from her based on what she receives on WhatsApp.
WhatsApp video.
Yes. so now, and it's a very beautiful attempt to see what happens is that we all know that we need to change. But we don't know how to change. And first, most important thing is that you cannot see what you don't know. So Roshan has made an attempt over here to make us understand what we are looking with our eyes, but we cannot see it. So let's hope that this book is able to provide those insights where we start knowing what is happening so that we can start seeing what is happening and we start understanding that it is something which we should change and take steps. He has given some tips also how to change and take some steps towards that change.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Save.
Thank
So
you.
I know, Avantika, that you have quickly read a book and you have some views to share. So
Yeah.
I would want you to share something apart from the book with us, because that particular, anything related to the book will come in little later after we do the book launch in some time. So would you like to put some light on what you're hearing about mind issues from your friends and people?
I think I would like to share my own personal experience. I was going through actually, I will relate it to the book itself. I was reading this chapter 12, This Is Your Legacy, in this book, where there's a topic called Perks of a Near-Death Experience. So I want to throw a light on that because I have been through the similar experience in my life, and I can totally relate to what Roshan has written in it.
Okay.
I would like to call as my rendezvous with NDE or near-death experience, if you may want to call it. So what happened was, I clearly remember it was 5th January 2018, exactly 2.5 years back. I had a sudden bout of this. I started having this upper abdomen pain in my, of course, in my abdomen, in the right abdomen. So I started taking medicines what the doctors have prescribed me, and still these pain was not subsiding at all. 5 days passed, 6 days passed, the pain was still there, and then one doctor asked me to get an endoscopy done. So by that time, I'm sharing my personal experience. Hope this is fine with you,
So the media can quote you.
Anji.
The media can quote you.
Acha, okay, cool.
Just kidding.
So by the time I went for the endoscopy, my condition deteriorated a lot. I had given up all hopes of survival because my hands, my legs all turned blue. My system had stopped taking food and liquids altogether. So when the endoscopy was done, the diagnosis which the doctor said was that I was suffering from duodenitis, which is a redness and swelling in your duodenum due to some bacterial infection and a lot of stress. So stress leads to such kind of health issues as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Then he advised me to take like a 1 month bed rest. My condition was very bad, so I had to take bed rest, and I was on a heavy dose of medication. It was that time I was getting all these International Film Festival awards and accolades and appreciation from across the globe, from all these international film festivals. And I was sitting on my bed and I was wondering, what am I supposed to do with all these awards and accolades? I mean, my life is at stake. I would have been dead in just a jiffy, in just a matter of time. So what am I exactly doing? I mean, of course, I wanted all these, I aspired for all these goals and I achieved as well, but at what cost? At the cost of my own life. So previously, I was this full-blown workaholic ninja, like working day and night and relentlessly. I wasn't like a very hard-working individual. So much so that I lost touch with my family. I was not taking care of my health. I was not taking care of my surroundings, my peace, nothing. I was just so driven by one thing that I want to achieve certain things in my life. And that took a toll on me. But thankful to God that I got a second chance today. I'm in a much happy space of my life, living my life one day at a time. I've mellowed down a lot. I'm not that kind of a workaholic anymore. So yes, that's my experience with NDE, and I'm happy that I'm still alive and talking to you people.
Oh,
So Vantika, great. I think that's something similar which I have captured in the book as well.
Yes, I read that.
How difficult was it? How difficult was that transition? Because I know you very well, the kind of effort and energy that you get into your work.
Yes.
But it's not always easy to transit from something which you've been doing for years and then to get into a piece of your own, a solace of your own.
Yeah.
So what were the things that you moved into? You know, what are the things that you did to get out of that mindset into something which you're into right now, and how does it feel now?
I think what I did was I stopped most of the communication in my workplace because that was making me more anxious by seeing people doing so much. Though I have achieved what I wanted to, but when I see people around me doing so much more, and I was like, I want to take a step back and I want to just concentrate on my happiness and peace and proper living. And this was creating more anxiousness for me. So I stopped communicating with people. I started reading more books. I started investing more time on myself, going for a walk on the beach and all those sorts of things that we do to keep ourselves calm and peaceful. So that was how I transitioned from being a workaholic to being a very peaceful, satisfied soul.
So that is a perk of your near-death experience, right?
Yes. Of course, it absolutely is. I'm very thankful that I experienced this as well.
So, Dr. Save, what do you think about Avantika's experience? Have you seen people like that?
You're asking me?
Yes, yes, doctor.
I think what really helped her, one Avantika, good, you had a moment of realization and it wouldn't have come unless and until you wouldn't have got this slap on your face. So it's a blessing in disguise, whatever happened to you.
Yes.
And I hope you don't forget this experience and again go back to that rat race. Now, it's a very nice thing which has happened to you because you're feeling better.
Yes.
I'll just give an entirely different perspective to it from a personal point of view,
Sure.
personal experience. We are just discussing this. This has got nothing to do with a psychiatrist over here. I have always been a person who has been extremely overworked, seeing maybe around 100 plus patients every day, plus squeezing in maybe 4 days of gymming, a couple of days of squash, maybe at least one football, plus a movie, plus everything, plus cycling. And then comes, and my heart rate used to stay between 65 and 70, never went above that. So, and then comes our lockdown.
Yeah.
And suddenly, I cannot do any of these things. And after 10 days, I just generally am fiddling with my phone and go on the health app and check my heart rate, and it is running at around 100 plus.
Okay.
So I got stressed out because I lost all that running which I was doing, or the stress with which I was living. So maybe my body had gotten into a harmony of living with all this chaos. But the only thing which I feel, and again I started working from 15 very next day online, then after that face to face, and from 15th I'm working again. I'm back to my workouts, whatever, cycling, everything, back to my old self where I'm just overworked and busy, and my heart rate is back to 65. So it's like an individual thing. You have to find out for yourself what is best for you.
Yeah, what works for you, right?
What works the best for you. I think what has worked the best for me is not this lifestyle, but because I've never been on social media. So I'm not bothered by what is happening to others, what is happening in my field, what is happening in any other person's field. I'm just very, very satisfied in doing my work well and developing myself to become a more healthier person into everything else. And that is what has really worked. So it's not always that you have to step down with regards to your work output to make you into a more relaxed person.
Yeah.
But the relaxation, in fact, the most people who are most productive are very peaceful at mind, but at the same time they work hugely. You'll find most of the saints sleeping for only 4 hours, or maybe not even that, and talking from morning to night peacefully with everybody. Thousands of people come to them.
Yeah.
With their problems, but they're saints. I'm not a saint, neither can you be. But then what we need to understand is that what is really troubling us nowadays is the influence which is happening on our mind indirectly. So social media should be used to your advantage, not your disadvantage. I definitely have an Instagram account which is for my business. Use my WhatsApp also for business, but I don't get influenced by it because I don't have anything personal about it. And that is one thing which I always tell people, gives me a lot of peace of mind as compared to others.
So, Dr. Save, you mentioned that you are not on social media, and one of the biggest.
Here, I want to add something more. What really worked for me was that I had my family members because I've been living for 10 years all alone, and then suddenly this happened. So I was not in touch with my family members and all. So I had these loved ones and family members around me again. They helped me off by just being at peace with myself. So I think that is more important. You should have a family around you.
What you need is peace around you, peace for yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're not at peace, that is where you need to change. And God gives you that opportunity to change to something which is so nice. You realize the value of your family, being active, health, exercise, not overworking yourself, and this is what is necessary for you. And it's not that I'm not on social media. I'm not on social media with regards to
For
Facebook.
unnecessary things. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not for
yeah,
anything. My Instagram is only for psychiatric posts, not for.
So
anything.
there is this condition, and I would call it a condition because this has turned into a disease which we call FOMO, which is the fear of
Yes,
missing out.
missing out, right?
And most of the reasons we want to be everywhere, just in the context that it is free, is because we want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be known, and
And we want to know everything as well.
Yeah,
Every
sir spoke
information
about-
we want to know.
Sir spoke about your internalization of your own thoughts. So we call it as a default point network, at a mode where the mind is not thinking anything; it is just there. And as human beings, this is again scientific research. As human beings, when that default point mode is kicked in, we normally think about our people, what they are doing, where they are right now, what they are eating, what they are wearing. And technological companies, we spoke about artificial intelligence, they have researched on this aspect and tried to fit in their apps, their services, and try to capture that mind share of the default point mode where they can present you something where you can go and see what someone is doing. And that is where the problem is. That is why we call it the fear of missing out. It's a condition that we say, okay, no, I'm left behind if I don't know what is happening. I'm left behind if I don't know what is being played out on the news. Very rightly said. I read a book called Digital Minimalism, and it says you do not abolish technology completely,
Right.
but you use technology for a very deep purpose of your life. Like you said, your business, someone, if it's a sports person or a fitness enthusiast,
Everything.
we'll just use it for that.
Your advantage.
Exactly, but do not get engulfed by everything that is
And
thrown.
see, we are all talking about what Sir said initially about Atmara.
Yeah.
We are all now coming back to that and talking about that. That a person who is satisfied soul. And this is a person who can have, and as he rightly said, is a person who has tremendous output. He can just go on making and doing things and tremendously because he's not bothered. Another thing is just a scientific perspective to it. Do we have a minute?
Yes, we have. We do have.
So I'll just put a scientific perspective to this. There's something called as a frontal lobe. Very technically, I'll just talk about it. If you look at a frontal lobe, reptile does not have any. Cat has a small one. Dogs have a bigger one. Monkeys and primates have still bigger. Ape has still bigger. And man has got vastly bigger than that. Vastly bigger. And for decades, scientists were sitting, that why such a big one? Means why such huge chunk of neurons, which is way beyond everybody. So this, what I tried to say, does that make any sense to you? Yes. The smaller the frontal lobe, the lesser need for making social connections. Reptiles are on their own.
Yeah.
Cats may make social connections with a couple of other cats at the most, few human beings. Dogs are more, wolves and dogs. Monkeys still more, they have a bigger gang. Apes, they have a proper kind of a colony. And human beings has had a huge kind of a thing as compared to this. And maybe it was Mr. Zuckerberg who realized this, and he has just done what was waiting as a time bomb or waiting as a thing to give him some tool where he can start socially connecting with the huge potential which he was carrying. So the potential was already there. Social media has just picked that potential and it has become an addiction. So it is technically very clear that we all need a social media platform because it was a need of our brain. It was sitting over there. We didn't know what it was craving for.
Right.
We were craving for it, but we didn't have anything. We didn't know. So before that, we had pen pals and we used to try to make lots of friends here and there, but it wasn't. And these platforms, even these are not going to go because this is not going to go. The frontal lobe is not going to go, so social media is not going to go. Let's be clear about it. We have to learn how to handle it.
I'll just add to what Dr. Survey said. 3.5 million people every day spend 2 hours on internet, on social media. So I believe the transformation is happening. More people are going digital, and because of COVID, the realization of digitization has certainly gone up. But somewhere down the line, yes, meditation techniques and pranayama and all these factors come into play. And I hope that this particular book will create that kind of a momentum to make sure that we have inner peace. And now let's go ahead and launch the book first, because I'm sure there are around 50, 60 people who have joined us. And some of them are pinging me saying, "What about the book? Can we see the front cover of the book?" So let's without any further ado, let's launch the book. I'll request Roshan to have the felicitation of Dr. Sankey and Dr. Sare, followed by a book launch. Please.
So, say, you'll be standing up.
Yeah.
Turn the screen.
And Avantika, I believe even you have one copy. So while they're doing
Yes.
it, you can do a yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can do it just by sitting. I can't stand here. Otherwise,
And Shivana,
This is the best. This is the best.
so thank you so much for being a part of it. You can unburden it.
Give it to me.
You can do it with this.
Sure, sure.
So I'm taking a screen grab while this launch.
okay. Okay.
I request everyone to hold the book properly so that I
Sure.
can. Roshan, do you have a copy as well on you for yourself?
Yeah, I do.
So why don't you carry? Why don't you have one in your hand as well?
So,
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. One more, please. 1, 2. Okay. Thank you for the book launch, and I believe people will be eager to know where can you buy this book from. It's available on Amazon. I'll quickly share a link with you guys from where you can buy this book. And I would request Roshan to quickly share his views, how this came to him, because we have been speaking around it for almost an hour now. But getting to the crux, we need to understand how it came to you. So Roshan, please.
And I think shift left is a term used in computer language, computer science, or corporate language, I guess.
yeah.
Right?
I'll come to that.
Yes.
Thanks, Ganesh, and thank you, Dr. Sanjay, Dr. Save, Avantika, for being part of this. My wife is over here, and everyone who's watching this and being a part of this. It really means a lot to me. I think before anything, I would thank the book for giving me a chance to dress up well after 6 months and
Same here.
come at some event, because I've just been in t-shirt and shorts all these months.
Sure.
Yeah. So I was never into reading or writing myself. I in my wildest dream never wanted to be an author. This was something that happened 4 years ago. I started developing anxiety and panic attacks, and very basic things which I used to do on a daily basis became very difficult to conduct. You know, things like driving or just walking long distances and so on. So I try to understand why this is happening, because I never had this condition as a child or never went through such a experience. You know, I always heard people having this. So to divert my attention, and I underwent that issue for 2 years. Even sleeping was becoming difficult. You know, I used to get scared to sleep. So I started researching and trying to understand why this is happening, and that was my diversion. So I just picked up books. You know, my brother at home, he reads a lot of books. I just started picking up books and started reading. And I started reading into these topics on why this is happening. How does this get manifested? How do our emotions go for a toss? Why do we think this way? And then out of randomness, I just went ahead and pure randomness. I just went ahead and blogged. You know, my first blog was Unapologetically You, which said that you just have to be yourself. And I just shared it with few friends of mine, and they absolutely loved it, which, you know, I keep thanking my readers and people around me for that. And that pushed me to write more blogs. And then I thought one day, why cannot I convert these blogs into chapters of a book? Because as my research went, I slowly understood 450 million people worldwide, the last count of 2018, are suffering from mental issues.
Yeah.
And these are reported ones. We do not even know the people who are not coming forward and taking counseling or speaking with someone
Right.
about this, because it is considered a stigma that we should not talk. People will look at me in a certain different way. I was fortunate to have a friend, Dr. Shweta, who helped me a lot during this period. And so I thought it's high time that I should start writing a book and bring it across to people in terms of what it is. And then I got into areas of meditation and reading books a lot, speaking with people. So each chapter, what I understood is our current generation. So every generation has its own pros and cons, right? And we were just talking that everyone said, in our generation things were different, things are better now or worse now. That happens in every generation. But the popular culture which has been formed right now has created a life where being simple, living simple has become the most difficult part of our life.
Yes, right.
Right? That is the challenge. And that's the reason I have given the tagline that this is a counterculture narrative. Which is beyond the popular culture of information excess, trying to be everywhere, the instant gratification that we want to seek. We are not able to define between our fleeting pleasures and what is our internal happiness. We try to control the world without having control over our own emotions. It is not external control of the world, it is internal control of our thoughts. That is so important. I read Bhagwan Maharishi's teaching, and he says, who am I? I am not the anger, I am not the pleasure, I am not the sadness, I am not the envy, I am not someone else, I am not the 5 airs that I breathe, I am not the 7 structures that I have. So if I am not all of this, then who am I? But he says, I am the realization that knows that I am not any of this. So if I get angry because of something that I see, if I get happy because of something that I see, that is not my permanent state. It is just a temporary phase which I go into.
Yeah.
My permanent state is internal bliss, which I want to reach towards. And that is what I have tried to bring about in this book. In our brain, Sir spoke about the frontal lobe. We also have the amygdala. So any reaction, any emotion that is incited is when the amygdala gets active. And the amygdala creates emotion of saying, oh wow, or I'm frustrated, I'm angry. Now this is researched by people in Silicon Valley. And there's something called as the amygdala hijack, where you see something, where you listen to music, and if you have a bad experience with that song, anytime you hear that song again, you get that experience again. It happens to us, right? Happy emotions, sad emotions, and so on and so forth.
Just say something over here, to explain
Yeah.
Scientifically. Amygdala is a place where the memory is stored, and next time anything around that memory comes, it will not require the entire sequence to be done. It will react in a form of an emotion or in form of adrenaline immediately. So as what he was trying to explain is that if a song has evoked a negative emotion and it is now stored by amygdala, next time that song's first beat starts and you start feeling dirty.
Correct. It's instant.
It's instant.
So, and in today's world, I want to ask you, which app or which politician or which movie or which Bollywood star is sitting in your amygdala? Because, the app that we want to use, that we constantly go on, it is created that way, it is built that way, it is designed. Nothing is random. Everything is planned. And there are processes that we can control our emotions in a way. And we call that system as the emotional intelligence. So
There's
you
a
have the human.
documentary also that's running around these days on Netflix called The Social Dilemma.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's based on the same.
I've quoted Social Dilemma has come out now, and I've quoted many of those people in my book.
Yeah.
So you have your human intelligence. Artificial intelligence is derived out of human intelligence. But we need to have a system of emotional intelligence that can supersede emotional intelligence at any point of time. That is what we have to be aware of. We have to have a very strong emotional intelligence, and that is what my book
is
making an attempt to create and to reach out to people in that direction. And then I speak about what is with that in place, with robotics, with our movement into the robotic age, what is the kind of ethic that we want to create for a future world? What is morality? What is the right moral? What are the bad morals? And future, what is the legacy? Finally, like Avantika mentioned on the chapter, what is the legacy that we want to leave for the chapter for our entire world?
Yeah.
So that is about the book. It is not a one-man show. There are many people who have been part of this entire thing that is happening out here. Of course, my family, my close friends, my editor. I hope she's there on the call. She worked extensively hard for a year on this, working on the concept level. Okay, why are you writing this? Why are you saying this? All those discussions. I can just recollect those discussions right now. Thanks to my publishers who agreed to publish this book, who saw the sense, who saw the value in this book. Ganesh to partner with me, all of these people. I really thank. I really thank. That they saw the sense, they saw the importance, they saw the need in this particular text that came across. Two people I think who motivated me a lot, who drove me is two of them. One is a girl who will turn 4 years old next month, and another is a girl who will turn 2 years. So she's my niece and my daughter. So my niece always taught me to be absolutely free. My first blog was an inspiration from her. And my daughter, circumstances, you can always control it. You can always master circumstances. You can always make best of your situation and still have that. So that's it. That's the motivation. That's the guidance which I had. And definitely I hope it will put me on a path to write more and reach out to more people and more readers and have this opportunity to meet people like you and present my.
Thank you. So I'll request one more photo opportunity with the book, because I want this screen to be the center screen and
Sure.
Yeah, this one. So,
Ganesh, you have to maintain social distance also.
Dr. Sange, can you just remove it because it's looking really.
Remove what?
The mask.
Better. Supposed to be.
1, 2. One more. 1, 2. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
And I have received one question, and post that probably we can do the book launch and we can share notes later on with the audience. I have already shared the link with everyone from where they can buy the book. The link is already there out. So one question that's coming to Roshan is, Roshan, did you decide to launch this book because of COVID or it was pre-planned?
It's taken me 2 years to write the book. So it is definitely before COVID. But I think COVID has been the bedrock of this entire thing, because like
Sir said, coincidentally came in our lives, COVID. Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, so I definitely didn't want COVID to be there, but that has become the bedrock of this entire thing, right? Whatever I mentioned is so relevant in today's scenario, because for 6 months we have been sitting at home. Humans are social animals. Let's not forget that. We have been disconnected from everyone, from our loved ones. So it's not easy. Like Sir said, in Wuhan, the divorce rate has gone high just because partners are living together. You don't have the space with your partner to, vent out. Earlier, could go to the work, you could go to work, you could hit the pub, you could go
To
to the bar.
socialize with other people, that's why
Amazing,
you're
but
not
I'll
confined to
tell
one place.
small anecdote over here. In the first 3 months of lockdown,
Yeah.
every week I was getting at least 2 to 3 cases of infidelity. Because all the infidels got caught in first 2 3 months is what I think. Now it has gone down tremendously because everybody must have gotten caught, or their methods are very very strong and good. But because people were together and you're face to face in the house, you don't have time, you're locked down, you have to get caught. And that's why I understood that infidelity is so much.
So I think it has supplemented the entire situation. The book which I'm reading, it's kind of been a precursor to that. So I hope people will use that and apply. So my main objective is that application. I have always read a book to bring a change in my life, not to just read it or just say that I read this book. I've always seen a book to see what kind of change that I can bring in my life. I hope this text which I've written also comes out that way and you implement that, because implementation and practice is the most important thing. Otherwise, it just remains a read and then we forget about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
I hope this book becomes a top bookseller and has a hot seat.
Yes, it definitely will.
Probably Avantika Roshan messaged me while you were talking that he's looking forward for you to act in a movie which is inspired by this book.
Oh, why not?
So, there's a movie that's coming out soon, guys. So thank you, everyone, and I would request all of you to go back to your shell, not move out, stay safe, and stay blessed.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Avantika.
Avantika. We didn't do the.
Yeah, I think Roshan and the doctors need to do a quick photo shoot.
Yeah, Ganesh, I also had a small thing which I wanted to present.
Okay.
If I may.
Roshan to felicitate Dr. Sanke and Dr. Save,
Yeah.
Lord Krishna Murthy.
So I didn't know what to pick up. I thought this would be the best. Probably if you could have on your table Radha Krishna.
Yeah.
Dr. Savay, I got a piece for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
One thing I'll be sending you also one. So
Thank you so much. I wish I was there. If not for COVID, of course.
yeah. But thanks so much. Thanks so much for being a part of this.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Ganesh.
you, Ganesh.
Thank you, Avantika. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.